Hello everybody. It's been a long time since I put a video up and I haven't really needed to. Thankfully, we've had lower COVID numbers and I've had a lot fewer kids gone lately. This is the video of the lesson we did on 10/8/21. And this is the wrap up to the Iceman murder mystery. Here's where you can always email me. Now, I'm going to try to make this go as quickly as possible because a 25-minute video takes about 4 hours to upload. So here we go. All right. This is based on the video that I have from 2003. And the reason that's important is he was discovered in 1991. Okay. So I'm going to start today's lesson talking about 3 kinds of blindness. And I'm not talking about a kind of blindness where your eyes don't work. This is other kinds of blindness. Everybody has walked around frantically looking for something that you've got to find and you can't find it and it's driving you crazy and you're like pacing back and forth looking for it. And somebody else will say, well, what are you looking for? And you tell them and they say, well, it's right there. It was right there the whole time. You were looking, but you weren't seeing. Everybody does it. Okay? It's very frustrating. Okay, that's one kind of blindness that's going to matter today. Okay, here's a different kind of blindness. When the Iceman's body was found, the very first idea people had about what this poor guy was doing up there was, oh, the poor guy died in a blizzard. And that story stuck. Everybody heard, oh, the poor guy died in a blizzard. And they didn't even check into seeing whether or not that was true. That blindness lasted for 12 years until 2003. He was found in 1991. Okay? That's the second kind of blindness. The third kind of blindness is this. When anybody checked into how Ötzi was dug out of the ice, it was incredibly sloppy. Okay? I asked people in class today to give me adjectives that would describe the recovery of the body. We had words like sloppy, rushed, unprofessional, terrible, horrendous, damaging, all kinds of words that described the very unfortunate way they got the body out of the ice. When you're taking a body out with an axe, ski poles, and a jackhammer, come on already. Okay? They did a terrible job. Now, anybody that knew about the Iceman knew he had been hacked out of the ice in a very terrible, damaging way. We knew the body wasn't in great shape, like all the leg meat that was removed. We knew his body was damaged in 1991. That blinded people to what was there in front of them the whole time. He didn't die in a blizzard. He died a violent death, and we feel really kind of silly now that it took 12 years to figure that out. Okay? Now, I'm going to pick the phone up and show you a picture of the Iceman's x-ray. Okay? Sorry about the glare. It only took us 12 years to notice something. It's right there in front of you. I'm not telling you what it is yet. Do you see it? Right here. I'm going to grab my marker. There's an arrowhead in his back. I'm not kidding. Right there. Now, I'm going to erase that mark, and then you see whether or not you can see it. It's right there. I think you can forgive the people for not noticing it, because it looks like bone. Besides, everybody knows he died in a blizzard. Why would you look for arrowheads? See what I'm saying? The blindness kicked in? All right. Now, remember that shape. I'm going to draw the shape here. This is this kind of arrow. We're going to talk a lot about arrows today. They're very important. That's the shape of the arrowhead that got him. Okay? Now, I have to go to another picture. Here's the entry wound from the arrow that killed Ötzi. Right there in his shoulder blade. Okay? Now, talking about blindness. That hole is about as big around as a pencil. When the arrow went in, the skin kind of closed in around it. Now, knowing he's been shot in the back, it's obvious that mark is there. But these people had been blinded by the story of him being killed in a blizzard, and they also knew he had been terribly damaged in all of the hacking him out of the ice. So a little mark like that escaped notice for 12 years. Scientists are humans, okay? They make mistakes. They can be blinded just like you and me. All right, now I'm coming back to this. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is, it's weird. I've never done this before. I had this idea last night. So today in class, we didn't write down any notes. I just told the story so we could solve the mystery together. I got really excited about it all. I gave them all these clues that we began to figure out. Okay? Some of the stuff was staring us in the face the whole time. It was like, oh, that doesn't sound like a peaceful, sad death in a blizzard. All right, here we go. I'm going to write these in a weird, random way around the page. Okay, the first thing. 1991, body recovery, produced lots of damage. Okay? Everybody knew it. All right, 2003, the arrowhead is discovered inside the body. There's no arrow shaft sticking out of his back. They're that dumb, okay? An arrowhead discovered in back. Almost hit the heart. It didn't quite penetrate far enough. Almost hit his heart. It was an expert shot. Okay? Now, I have to tell you more about that arrowhead. Okay? There's two kinds of arrowheads, two basic kinds of arrowheads. One is for getting dinner, and one is for getting even. What I'm talking about is people around the world, when they were using Stone Age technology, used different styles of arrowheads for killing animals than the ones they use for killing people. Okay? Here's the fundamental difference between killing an animal and killing a human. Humans have thumbs. You're like, what? When you shoot an animal, almost all of them, they'll run away from you. Not necessarily a bear. Okay? By the way, we know that Utsi killed a bear. He has a bearskin cap. Most animals, when you shoot them with a bow and arrow, they run away and you hope they drop dead quickly. Okay? If you shoot a human and they don't die right away, you've got a problem because now they're ticked off. Okay? And they have thumbs, which means they can grab that thing and try to pull it out of them. Okay? Now here's the point. No pun intended. Okay? This kind of arrow is meant to, when it goes in, the impact is meant to split the arrow shaft. This back of the arrow is left kind of like a wedge. So the arrow will go in, the arrow shaft will be split, and the victim, if they're still alive, will yank on the arrow shaft, and they'll get the shaft out, but the arrowhead's supposed to stay in the person, and you hope that it'll keep on cutting blood vessels and they die. Okay? The whole point of shooting a human is killing them. Okay? Not eating them, just killing them. All right. Now, the next thing. That arrowhead was a war arrowhead. That's important. Okay? We know he wasn't killed in a hunting accident. The shot is too good, and it was not an arrowhead somebody would have been using for hunting. Oh, sorry, man, I thought you were a deer. That doesn't cut it. No. He was shot by somebody on purpose, and they were a great shot. All right, the next thing. Now, somebody pulled that arrow shaft out of Utsi's back. He might have done it. It's doubtful. We think his killer did it, and I'm going to tell you that toward the end when we begin to solve as much of the mystery as we're ever probably going to solve. All right. Tell yourself there was no arrow shaft. There was no shaft. It was pulled out. Okay, the arrows are going to be a major deal today. All right, next thing. I'm looking at my weird random list of clues. In the 1992 videos, and then the 1998 video, which was a remake of the 92, they told you, I'm going to write this, 92 and 98, said his bow wasn't finished. Said bow was unfinished. Later on, scientists were like, wait a second, that's not unfinished, that's broken. He broke his bow. Later on, bow was broken. That's a big difference. Here's what we think happened. We think there was a battle. I think he ran out of arrows. I think he was in hand-to-hand combat, and he broke his bow over somebody who was trying to kill him. And he got away. Okay? Later on, bow was broken. That's what they said. Later on, bow was broken. All right, now, next thing. In the 92 and the 98 videos, they completely leave out information because it didn't fit into the poor guy died in a blizzard story. In the 2003 video, we see more of the recovery of the body and why they had a super difficult time getting his arm out of the hole. One of his hands was down in the hole underneath the ice, and they couldn't get it loose. They were pulling and pulling. They finally got it loose. Okay? Here's why they couldn't get out. He was clenching that knife in his hand in a death grip, and the ice was still holding on to the knife. Okay? 2003 video shows Ötzi with knife, clenched. I'm in a hurry, so my writing is sloppy. If you put a closed captioning on, you can read the words. 2003 video shows Ötzi with knife clenched in right hand. And it was stuck in the ice. Now, if you were here with me when we watched the 92 video, I said, well, look at the guy in the gray coat. We're going to make fun of him. And then we really made fun of him today. I showed a video clip. As they finally get the hand out of the hole, they notice the knife still in the hole. The guy in the gray coat picks up the knife, looks at it, and throws it away. He wasn't paying attention. Okay, next thing. Now, I'm looking at my list. Here's something else they didn't tell you in the 92 and 98 video versions. All of Ötzi's possessions were laid out evenly around him. He had them spread out all around him in an organized way. Okay? That doesn't sound like a blizzard. Okay? He had over 60 pounds of stuff he was carrying, and he only weighed 110 pounds. He's not on a little hike for the fun of it. Okay? Something's going on in his life, and he's on the move. That's what we can guess from him having all this stuff. Okay? They asked experts who looked at the spot where they found the body. They said, why would he be here? And they looked at it and said, well, look, he could be able to see if somebody was coming up after him. He's in a spot where he's pretty well hidden. It looks to many experts like he was on the run, trying to get away. And it looks like he almost made it, but he didn't. Okay, next thing. The Iceman's body was covered in bruises, gashes and bruises. People weren't paying any attention to it because everybody knew he died in a blizzard. In 2003, after the arrowhead was found, okay, 2003, body covered in cuts and bruises. Nobody had paid attention because everybody knew he died in a blizzard. Dude, you don't bruise when you're dead. Your body cannot pump blood out of leaks once you're dead. That's what a bruise is. It's where something happened to a blood vessel that popped open. There was a squirt of blood that came out, and then the hole was plugged. Okay? Ötzi's been in fights very recently before he died. Okay? Now, in 2003, after the arrowhead was found in the back. They called in an expert who solves crimes. He looked inside the right hand and saw something nobody had seen in 12 years because they were blinded by knowing that Ötzi had died in a blizzard and also knowing his body had been damaged. Inside the right hand of Ötzi, I'm going to mark on my hand here. Ötzi had a deep gash right here, all the way down to the bone. Can you see it? It's a Sharpie. Okay? Nobody had noticed. And even if they'd noticed, they were like, oh, there's probably more damage from the ski poles or the axe. Okay? Dude, that's a defensive wound. When somebody comes at you with a knife in hand-to-hand combat to kill you, you throw your hands up to stop the blow. The gash went all the way down to the bone, all the way through this meat. Okay? That's the hand Ötzi's got his knife clenched in. It had to be hurting like crazy, that hand. Okay? That's the hand he had clenched like this around the knife handle. That doesn't sound like a blizzard. Okay? Now, next clue. Looking at my list. All right. So, as they looked inside the wound in Ötzi's hand, they had to let him thaw, by the way, to get this so that he was flexible again. They did it. They took some samples out of the bottom of the cut, way down inside where it's all squishy. Okay, and they were amazed to find that his body had already started healing. There was 2 to 3 days worth of healing at the bottom of the cut. You don't heal when you're dead. This gash had happened 2 to 3 days before Ötzi died. Okay, that's another clue. Next thing, we need to talk about the arrows. All right, Ötzi had 12 arrows. 2 of them had arrowheads, 10 of them didn't. Think about it. I've already given you clues that it looks like he's been in hand-to-hand combat. He's got a broken bow. That's something he would have been careful with. If he's got a broken bow, it probably was a desperate situation where he used it as a weapon. Okay? All right. He's not up there hunting. He's got 2 arrows that have arrowheads and 10 that don't. I wonder what happened to those other arrowheads. Do you remember when I told you about this kind of arrow? How it's made to split shafts? All right. Picture a battle with people shooting arrows at each other. What happens when you run out of arrows? Do you just surrender and say, okay, shoot me now? That's not what I'd do. I'm going to look for arrows on the ground. I'm going to pick up arrows and start shooting them back. What if you use all those up? Where there's more arrows? Oh, there's my dead friend. There's an arrow sticking out of his back. I'm going to grab that one. Pull it out. Crap. The arrowhead stuck inside. There's another dead guy. Pull an arrow out of him. Crap. Another arrow without an arrowhead. The arrowhead is stuck in his body. Okay? I think Ötzi pulled 12 arrows and only got 2 of them that had arrowheads. He's hurting. This is not a good situation. Okay? Here's another neat thing about the arrows. Okay? When somebody is as good as making stuff as Ötzi would have been, they usually, when they're making their arrows, are going to do them all the same way so they're consistent. So the arrows all fly the same way so you can actually hit stuff that you need to hit. Okay? Here's something weird about Ötzi's arrows. Some of them are right-handed spin. Some of them are left-handed spin. That would be very unusual for one person to make arrows that spun 2 different directions. I mean, to have arrows that were either direction. That's weird. That's more evidence for him probably picking up arrows that were on the ground or in bodies. Okay? So, Ötzi's 12 arrows. Ötzi's 12 arrows were both right hand twist and left hand twist. Oops, sorry. I meant left hand twist. I'll do it like that. Okay. Next. That also sounds like somebody who's been in a real battle. It got hairy. Okay. All right. Next thing. I'm almost done. It seriously looks like Ötzi was on the move and had maybe gotten away from the action, maybe thought he was safe. Here's why we say that. Okay? I know my writing's partially been hidden. We looked at his stomach contents. He had cooked a large meal of goat meat, mountain goat meat and wheat. It was in his stomach. It had not digested, which means he had eaten it about 2 hours before he died. You stop digesting when you die. You stop bruising when you die. You stop healing when you die. You stop digesting when you die. This tells us that he thought he was safe enough to stop, make a fire that's going to give away his position. There's smoke, okay? He cooked a meal and ate it. And then shortly thereafter, he's killed. Here's what it looks like happened. He thought he was safe. He thought he got away. The dude that was following him found him, even where Utsi thought he was safe. Okay? Here's more details that they had but didn't fit, so they didn't put it into the story. Okay? Utsi's got an arrow in his back, as you already know. Somebody pulled the arrow shaft out. Probably not Utsi, because his arrows were in the quiver. Okay? Here's another thing they didn't tell you. Utsi's had a brain bleed at the time of his death. Something you don't want to have when your brain is bleeding inside your skull. Okay? Here's what we think happened. Utsi was shot in the back and either fell over and hit his head on the rocks when he was shot, or other people think he fell over, shot, bleeding to death, and his killer walks up and crushes his skull with a rock. Okay? Like a finishing blow. That doesn't sound like a blizzard, does it? Okay? So, Utsi has a brain bleed. Okay, next thing. Now we're almost done. What am I at for time? 22 minutes? All right, I'm going to see if I can get this done by 25 minutes. Here's the thing. In 1992, they checked out Utsi's arrows to see if there was any animal blood on them. There wasn't. They didn't check for human blood. I don't know why. Well, I think I know why. They thought he died in a blizzard. Okay? 2003, they went, maybe we should check those arrows out. There's human blood on them. Completely different chemistry and different tests. Human blood all over Utsi's arrows. It gets more wild. 4 different people's blood is on those arrows, and none of the blood is Utsi's. That doesn't mean Utsi killed 4 people. He might have killed more than that. We don't know. All I'm telling you is 4 of those arrows were in people. Maybe he shot them. Maybe he picked the arrows up off the ground or out of people. That's all I'm saying. Okay? And here's the last thing. Why didn't the killer take that axe, that precious, unbelievably important axe? There are a number of theories about why the killer didn't take the axe if the killer was there finishing off Utsi. One theory is that Utsi and his killer ended up killing each other. That Utsi got away and died away from where his killer was. That's weak. Another theory is, this is the one I like, the theory I think is the best, is that Utsi and his killer knew each other and were probably from the same village. And that there was probably one metal object in that town. That axe. And if Utsi goes missing and you show up with his axe, you got some splaining to do. So even though that killer may have really wanted to have the axe, he couldn't do it because he'd be busted. Okay? The killer didn't take the axe. Okay? I think, I'm not the one who came up with this idea, but this is the idea I believe. Utsi and killer may have known each other. Why would they kill each other? We don't know. Were they fighting over an insult? Messing with somebody else's wife? Who knows? That'd get you killed. Utsi and killer may have known each other. Killer might not have wanted to be busted, to be caught. All right. I wish I could talk more about it, but I really have to end it. So this 25 minutes. You can always email me with questions. There's a ton of great videos on YouTube. So go and check it out. It's amazing.